Headed down to Puerto Rico, gonna help celebrate a Sacramento. While we're down there, we might go on hikes. See some trees look like they have spikes. The weather was great and the trip was fun. Eventually we'll go back to get more sun. Puerto Rico, see you in my dreams. Puerto Rico will bring more sunscreen. Puerto Rico, see you in my dreams. Puerto Rico will bring more sunscreen. A trip to Puerto Rico.
So welcome to this week's Week in Review. This week we have a special video from our trip recently down to Puerto Rico. So it's the first review video from outside the continental US. So we're actually going to split this video up into two parts because we were down there for about 4 days. So the activities that we did, it was kind of too hard to condense it down into one watchable video. So we're going to split it into two parts. So the first part that you're going to see here was our first day down there, in which we went to Yunque Rainforest for a hike. So after the hike, we went to the condo where Ivia's family was staying, and Richard's family was there as well. So we hung out there for a bit, got some food and drinks, and then eventually made our way back to our place. And then Richard came over for a impromptu bachelor party. So here's some clips starting with the journey to the hike in Yunque. So the first day, we woke up a little groggy from the flight the night before, but no big deal. Put on some coffee and started planning out the day. The weather was beautiful, so our plan was to go to the rainforest for a hike. So there she is, El Yunque, which is Spanish for the Yunque. So we plan on heading out shortly to be up top there. And as you'll see throughout the video, there's horses and dogs everywhere. So before we made it to the rainforest, we stopped and made a quick detour at the mall that was right down the road from our condo. And that was neat too. It sounds weird, touristy, I don't know what you want to say to call it, but that we went to a mall and we were kind of surprised. But going in there was like what the malls around here used to be, 10, 15 years ago, where there was people there. It was, the food court was busy. They had all kinds of displays and attractions, and it was just neat, especially when you look at all our malls around the area here are kind of dying and fading away. So there's a couple clips from inside the mall. And we got to try some of this classy beverage, Malta India, which was a carbonated malt beverage with hops. So after the mall, we made it into the rainforest and we started the long climb up the mountain in the car. And man, that was pretty neat. And this was the first pull-off spot that offered a great view. And in this video, you see Yunque Tower, which was on our agenda to make it to today. But we hit a roadblock, literally, and we found out that they only allow a certain amount of vehicles farther up the road at a time. So by the time we made it to this spot, they were full. So it was the plan B. We drove back down the road and found the first place that we could pull off, and we decided to walk the rest of the way. So then we made it back to where the roadblock was, and initially the ranger told us that we couldn't even walk in, but then all of a sudden he said never mind, it was okay. So we kept going. And then we made it to the first fall, and oh man, it was beautiful, but this is really what you saw. So after stopping there momentarily, onwards we went, and our goal was still to make it to that tower that I mentioned before. We ran into this guy on the way up. His name was Ricardo. He was from Arizona, and he was just walking around exploring too, so he ended up hanging out with us for a while on the hike up to the tower. And there she is. So after the tower, we started walking back down the mountain, and there was a trail, and it was Cocoa Trail or Cocoa Falls, that we passed on the way up, that Ricardo said he had hiked and he said it was worth it. So we still had extra time, so we decided to go down and check this trail out. And man, this was a good trail. It was pretty intense to hike. There was a couple times where the line "dropping in" was called out. So after about 2 miles, we hit this stream crossing, and this is the same stream that had the waterfall that crossed the road previously, but just a little farther downstream. So we stopped here and hung out, crawled up to the waterfall, up the line there a little bit, and just hung out here.
Taking a break. We just hiked down a big mountain thing, rainforest immersion. Got off the pavement, came down an official sanctioned single track. Laura's, yeah, she's making her way all the way up to the waterfall. The trail goes up that way. We're just looking at the map. This trail doesn't really go anywhere. It's kind of a dead end, so not sure how much farther we're gonna go. Conoco Falls or Conoco Falls, something like that.
Oh, Cocoa.
Cocoa Hut Falls.
Cocoa Falls.
Get your cigarettes and e-vapes. The Cocoa Hut.
So here's some pretty nature clips before we leave this area. So we started to climb back out, repeating the same trail that we just did. But before we left, we looked up the restaurant we were going to, and we found out that they had all kinds of food and craft beer. So it was like an all-out mad sprint to the top. So this was the place. It was called the Tree House, and it was right at the base of the mountain. And man, they took care of us. We had different types of craft beer from Ocean Labs, the local brewery, and then they just kept bringing us out plate after plate after plate of food, and it was delicious. Then we got in the car again and drove to, I believe it was called Cocoa Beach Golf Club, where, as we mentioned before, Richard and Ivia's family were staying. And then Richard told us we could park anywhere, so we said, what about right here? But he didn't think that was a good idea. And this place was beautiful. So we hung out there for a little bit and then made it back to our place to relax for the rest of the night. And then Richard came by as well. So it was a good time. So that's it for this week. Hope you enjoyed. Little different format material there. Haven't done much in the hiking scene on the channel yet. It's definitely neat down there too, especially stuff's starting to get green here now. But at the time we were down there, we were still in the dead of winter back up here. So when we came back from our flight, and it was kind of back into the deadlands, everything was so green down there and bright and warm. It was a little hard to get back, but thankfully, seems like winter is hopefully over here now, so we have that to look forward to. Speaking of look forward to, the second part of this will be out shortly, so keep an eye out for that. Also, the Pete Town Roubaix coming up soon as well. Have a good one. We'll see you out there.
Puerto Rico, see you in my dreams. Puerto Rico will bring more sunscreen.